All right, well, thank you. This is my lovely wife, Enid. She's incredible. She's phenomenal. She's a fighter. She's a warrior. She's resilient. She's loving. She's caring. She's my wife. She's my partner. She's my best friend. I'm done.
Are you serious? I didn't know he was going to say all that. Anyway, it's really great to be here. I'm Enid Tchirs, my awesome husband Matt. We've been married for 23 years. And for those of you who don't know, except all the ladies know if you were there on Wednesday night, this is actually my second marriage, and so many answered prayers right here. So as we talk, we'll share more, but just as I'm sitting here looking at you all and looking at some of the babies, I mean, it was like yesterday. It's crazy. But our son is now 19. We raised him here at North River. We moved here from Miami when he was 3 years old. And so he's gone through the children's ministry and the middle school ministry and the high school ministry. Now he's a freshman in college. He's hanging out with the campus ministry. He's here today. He's down the hill. So we're just really happy to be here. I'm really happy to be able to share just our story, and hopefully it'll be helpful to some of you.
So we talked about nurturing, and like Tony, I was thinking about eradicating some traits in my son. I'm going to show you a video when he was a little guy.
My name is Coach here.
Hello, children.
Hush a little baby, it's gonna be alright now. It's gonna be alright now. It's gonna be alright. I'm going now. It's gonna be alright. Hush a little baby, I'm not shopping now. But my name is Coach and I'm giving it alright. Hush a little baby, it's gonna be alright. Hush little baby, it's gonna be alright. My name is Coach and it's gonna be alright. My name is Coach and it's gonna be alright. Baby, it's gonna be alright now. Hush little baby, it's gonna be alright. So hush little baby, it's gonna be alright. Hush little baby, it's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. So stop worrying, little baby, it's alright. Hush little baby, it's gonna be alright.
So, 2 points. Number 1, hush little baby, and number 2, it's gonna be all right. It's not really our points, but it's interesting as we're watching that. I'm thinking, you know, that was in the home. It's gonna be all right, Cole. It's gonna be all right. He is a ball of energy. You know, we've been studying Ephesians, and I love Ephesians in chapter 1. It's kind of a theme scripture I think that we'll refer to today. And it says in Ephesians 1:18 and 19, I keep asking that the God of our Lord Jesus Christ, the glorious Father, may give you the spirit of wisdom and revelation, so that you may know him better. I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened, in order that you may know the hope to which he has called you, the riches of his glorious inheritance in his holy people, and his incomparably great power for us who believe. I call that the HIP prayer, H-I-P, hope, inheritance, and power. Hope, inheritance, and power. Just keep hope, inheritance that we share together, and the power that raised Christ from the dead. There's an old ancient proverb that I'm going to share with you, and it says that if you want to know what's on the pathway ahead, talk to those heading back or looking back. And we're grateful to have opportunity to share with you. We don't have anything figured out, first and foremost. Anything that's good that you might grab is because God has allowed it to happen. Absolutely 100% convinced of it. I'm a disaster in my sinful nature. She's awesome. But in her sinful nature, in my sinful nature, we were told in our pre-marriage counseling, you will destroy one another. If you're both unspiritual at the same time, you're going to destroy each other. and that's still true today. We will destroy each other. I'm going to show you a couple pictures, just a kind of an evolution here. This is our spirited Cole at Ackworth River, Lake, or whatever that is over there, beach. We used to go there with a lot of families and hang out together, taking a mud bath. Next one. So this is, that's Trent, Camden, Cole, Carter, and Jackson. So that was at the swamp, obviously. Next. Cole and his best friend, there they are, right there. Camden Kadinsky and Cole Tchirs. Just yesterday, and then today, this is what they look like today. So they're kind of grown up. And so our hush little baby, it's going to be all right, now looks like this. Like I said, anything good that comes out of us today is from God. So what we want to kind of share about, really we're going to share about our own lives, all right? And so this is like the 5 pillars as we look back in our lives, and if we were to speak to ourselves when we were younger, kind of 5 pillars that we really believe that God used to help us to raise our child. He's on a journey. This kid, boy, let me tell you something. He's a deep thinker. He's highly sensitive. He's, it was, I mean, what was it? He slept through the night when? How old was he?
Not until he was 4 years old.
About 4 years old was when we first started sleeping through the night. He's got, life-threatening allergies, so we had to figure things out with his food. He's got asthma that, he couldn't sleep at the swamp and different things. I'll share a little bit about that later. Highly sensitive to a lot of things. He is a highly emotional kid. You don't have to guess what he's thinking. We had to figure out his sensitivities because anything that had any additives and preservatives sent him into another orbit. I'm telling you. I mean, I know this is being recorded. Cole, I love you, buddy. Meltdowns, you ever have a kid have a meltdown? I mean, it was daily. It was daily. It's not if, it's when during that day that's going to happen. So, and you share the same things, I get it. But these are 5 things that for us, if we were speaking to us, and it's kind of a, he relentlessly chases my soul. He relentlessly chases my soul. It's going to be an acronym. So it's he. The home culture is my 100% responsibility as a parent. I must own what goes on in my home, bar none. And in the 3 areas that I've got to take ownership, the first one is personal growth. It's my responsibility to grow in my relationship with God every day. It is not the church's responsibility to raise me spiritually. I am grateful and I need the church, and I need to show up and be ready to learn and absorb and give and grow. But what goes on and what position I put myself in is 100% on me. All growth takes intentionality and a willingness to invest in it. My son, he goes to the gym every day, right, for the last year, right? And you see the results. But guess what? If he just said, I'm thinking about going to the gym and I'm going to get strong, and he said that every day, and he had great intentions, but no actions. You ever hear that book, The Servant? It says intention minus actions equals squat. So it's my responsibility to grow personally. And so I've got no excuse. And I've been on a journey myself. I was 25 years old when I became a Christian. I moved to Texas to New Jersey in 7th grade. It's a culture shock. I was heavily involved in sports, played basketball in Jersey, played on some AAU teams, got invited to these basketball camps, was able to join and be part of I had a full scholarship to a developmental program in New York City. So I had an opportunity to meet Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, had an opportunity to play in East Rutherford, New Jersey, in the arena there, met all the Big East coaches, and there was a lot that went on that was awesome. Took a ton of trips, started doing really well in basketball, played high school ball, got a full scholarship to go to college down at FIU, played there for 4 years. We went to the NCAA tournament, March Madness, my senior year, and had epic end of my career. It was awesome. But what people don't know is that when I went to that developmental program, the coach who sought me out and offered that scholarship to me in my adolescent years and was a family friend was actually abusing me the entire time, emotionally and sexually, and nobody knew it. And so here I am. The only thing that kept me alive was the pursuit of basketball, playing college basketball. But once I graduated from college, it was just from age 22 to 25, it was a descent into the abyss. And but at 25, God snatched me out of the abyss, right? But guess what? When you become a Christian, you're not all of a sudden healed from the trauma that happened. Matter of fact, I was really good at suppressing it way down. And then, so I kind of tell you this story because over the years, you know, my wife would say, you know, you should get some counseling. I don't need to get some counseling, you know. And but I did 3 different times throughout our marriage, and each time it got me a step closer to this counseling time I went last year, and it was pretty intense. But just one area I want to share with you is called IFS. It's internal family systems. We all have it. And what I realized about myself, and this has helped me to grow. This whole point of this is growth, like personal growth. Like it's not. It wasn't my choice to have to endure trauma, but it is my choice to pursue healing. And so God has had me on a journey on this. But this IFS idea is that there's parts inside of us that are stuck. And so I've got an adolescent boy inside of me who's in a dungeon, and he is ticked off at everybody. He's mad at me for leaving him there. He's mad at everybody. He's a Gen X kid, and there's nothing anybody can say that he's going to trust. Cynical, angry, lonely, and sad. There's also a bodyguard inside of me that's hyper-vigilant and is going to protect at all costs. And even as I look at you, I'm hyper-vigilant. My mind's always on. Vigilance is good. Hyper-vigilance is exhausting. There's another part of me that kind of lived on that's just trying to figure out life with all these suppressed emotions. And that's me, right? So these 3 people inside of me are jacked up and they're not unified, right? So anyway, this healing journey is taking me into a new place, right? Where, and it's deep, it's intricate, there's layers. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody at any time about it. So please approach me if you want to talk more about anything about it. So this is just not the time for it. But I wanted to share that with you because I believe it's an indication that it's up to me to grow. So in the mornings, I got this thing. I bow and vow, I call and cry, and I fall and die. That's what I do. I just have to get on my knees, and I vow an oath of allegiance to God that I'm going to live for Him. I want Him to crucify my sinful nature and Him to live through me. I fall and die. That's a single seed falls and dies. It remains a single seed. And I call and cry. All throughout Scripture, people are calling and crying out to God. That's up to me to do that. It's not her responsibility. It's my responsibility to grow spiritually. I've got an ESPN acronym: exercise, sleep, psychological warfare, and nutrition. I need that. It's mental health for me. I've got to exercise. I've got to sleep well. I've got to go to town on the neural pathways, and I need to eat well. And then I'm in a position to grow. That's kind of like my pre-day conditioning, I guess. So anyway, that's the first part. It's our responsibility to grow personally. So when God is in us, it's not what we do, it's who we are, it's who we become. Then I ask God to parent my child, raise my child through me, God, because I'm going to mess them up. And the second P, personal growth under home culture, is protect the marriage. Foxes in the vineyard. Here's a practical. I want you guys to do this. Every marriage issue that we've seen, they don't do this. They don't do this. So start doing this and prove me wrong. If you do this for 21 days and it doesn't work, I'll take you to lunch. Anywhere you want to go. Pray very specifically for what you are grateful for in your spouse. Every day. Not general. Gratitude is a muscle, first of all. It's a muscle. You've got to exercise it in order for it to grow. So practicing gratitude, pray every day for what you are grateful for in your spouse. The longer you get married, it's either going to be gratitude or annoyances. And as you raise children, the marriage starts to get neglected. And you become co-parents, and you know what's worse than becoming co-parents when you're married is not realizing that you've become co-parents when you're married. So you've got to protect the marriage. Then those verbal encouragements, you don't have to think about, I should verbally encourage my wife today or my spouse today, because it's overflowing because you're praying about this every day. 21 days. I want you guys to do that. Men, I hope you are learning how to emotionally connect with your wife. Not a lot of men know how to emotionally connect with their wives. Start by praying for her every day what you're grateful for. Conversations start. You start to study your spouse. You study your wife. You start to see things. You start to connect with things. You start to know when she's a little bit off. And then it becomes him loving her through you instead of you trying to love her on your own. I don't try to imitate God. I ask God to do great things through me, because if I try to imitate God, I'm going to be a miserable replica of him. I can't manufacture the fruit of the Spirit. He has to produce them through me, but it starts with my personal growth. I can't just do them. I have to start with that discipline of letting him do that through me. It frees me up, actually, so then I don't feel as guilty if I'm falling short, because I fall short pretty much every day. I fall short when I try to imitate God, but I don't fall short when I surrender and let him love her through me. Did you want to share anything about that?
So I just read this quote yesterday. It says, if you plan to be married a long time, get more comfortable saying, I'm sorry I got defensive and didn't hear you out. Can you share that again so I can understand what you need? And I thought, wow, that really sums it up, because how many times, especially I think as women, we can feel very strongly about certain things, right? Whether it's how the house is or anything with the kids. And so I think this is awesome. I'm going to say it again. I'm sorry I got defensive and didn't hear you out. Can you share that again so I can understand what you need? And I think it's awesome as women to realize that we have a lot of responsibility for the tone of the home, and a lot of times that starts with our marriage. I know for us, we actually struggled with infertility for the first 2.5 years of our marriage, and it took a full 2 years to even become pregnant. So we didn't have our son until we'd been 5 years married. I felt like we had this amazing marriage. Literally on the way home from the hospital, I thought, who is this guy? All of a sudden he seemed like more nervous, and he was driving 10 miles an hour in Miami, and because he felt this huge responsibility. But it also, it changed our marriage, as parenting does. And all of a sudden we were in a different place. And that's okay. That's important to know. And I think what's amazing is here in the kingdom, in the body, we have so many resources. We have so many people that are older than us that have gone before us and can help us through all these different stages that our marriages will go through.
When we were dating back in Miami, there was this event that we did, and we worked together when we were dating, and there were a lot of things going on, a lot of activities happening, but she was pretty disrespectful. She said some disrespectful things. So, I kind of, okay, all right, we're going on a date later, so I'll handle those. There may have been 5, 6, 7 disrespectful things she had said to me. So I was like, oh yeah, okay. All right. So whatever, we went to our separate homes, and then, we were going to go on a date, and we were going to talk about these things. So I was like, you know what? I know what she's going to say. She's going to ask me, did you pray about these things? So that's what I'm going to do right now. So on my drive, I start praying. It's hypervigilance. I'm trying to think through what's about to happen. So I'm praying, and as I'm praying, and as I'm thinking about these things, I'm like, man, I was pretty harsh. And God started revealing that, I was pretty disrespectful as well. So I pulled over, had a quarter, payphone, you know, those things. I called her up and said, "Hi, before we go on our date, I just want to apologize about blah, blah, blah." Yeah. And she said, "Thank you for apologizing. I'm also sorry for all 5 or 6 things that I'm about to nail her." Can you imagine how that would have gone if I didn't pray, God didn't show me that? That's something that we've taken for the last 25 years of humility always wins. Take care of your own backyard. Because more than likely, when you stop and pray and think through it and you take responsibility, they will probably take responsibility themselves, so you don't have to point it out, you know. So that's just something that is a practical that we love. We also, another practical, no incubators of sin at the crib. Don't allow it. Don't let your spouse talk bad about somebody and slander somebody and you just, agree with it. Don't start getting attitudes together and start agreeing with one another about him or her or so-and-so or this, that, or the other. Be a safe space, but don't be an incubator of sin. That was told to us during pre-marriage counseling, and it's so awesome to know that she loves God and righteousness more than me and more than my feelings. And I'm good with that. And that's why we got married. So, and vice versa. It's just important. So, all right, so the last P is just in home culture. He relentlessly chases my soul. So this is the H. Don't worry, the other ones are faster. Is proactive parenting. So we didn't want to start with parenting because if you're not starting with personal growth, you're not starting to take care of your marriage. I mean, parenting is something that you do. It's not an overflow of these things, right? It should be an overflow. If we want them to feel unconditionally loved, then they need to be in an environment where they're seeing unconditional love with you and your spouse. They need to see your devotion to God and to Jesus and on your knees and praying and so many conversations I have with my son that, oh my goodness, guys, some of the things that he talks about and comes up with. When you're saturated in Scripture, you think about these scriptures and they come up. And then it's like you got to bob and weave on how to bring them in and when to bring them in, and that's that spirit of wisdom and discernment. But check this stat out: from birth to 18 years old, there are 157,680 hours, over 150,000 hours that they're going to be alive. Let's say they sleep for 8 hours a day. So that's 105,120 waking hours from birth to 18. Only 13% of those hours are they in school. So over 86% of their waking hours from birth to 18 years old, you basically control what's influencing them. I remember when I first heard this, like, well, they're in school, and God, we got to, we try to put Jesus into them when they're in school, and then we got to help just eradicate the Satan out of them when they come back from school. Yes, school has a lot of influence, but 86% is when they are not in school. To me, that's like, okay, so we are the CEO of cultivating a culture in our home of influences for our child. That's up to us to create that, to figure that out. And we're realizing that rewards in parenting, they come much later than where you are right now. They come later. So engagement and evolving is important. I'm just going to rattle these off. I think it's so important for fathers to meet their children where they are, because God does that to us. I remember when this boy was into wheels, costumes, his wild imagination around the neighborhood, Spider-Man, the bedtime routines, the WWE. Oh my goodness, we went down to WrestleMania. It was awesome to see how much he enjoyed it. Ripsticking, he was the only one on a ripstick at the skate park, but we were there on, many nights. His breakdancing, the video games. you can see he was a future YouTuber by his Hush Little Baby, and that's what he does now. He's a content creator, does YouTube, breakdancing, basketball. I watch every one of his videos. I meet him where he is, and I make sure that I'm connected to what he's connected to, no matter how I feel about it. Because I want to be able to meet him and have conversations. And quite honestly, I pray that God will bring himself through me into those conversations in one way, shape, form, or another. Not religious, but just being spiritual. And so that's why engagement is so important. I remember when this, I think character is so important, right? To build in our children, it's very important. So I think I was pretty bent on this, probably a little too much when he was younger. And I remember trying to hammer a point home. That's what she said. You don't have to hammer a point home every time. Yes, I do. So I remember talking to Cole. I was trying to get this point across, and I don't know how long it was going on, maybe 5 minutes. And he looks at me. He's like, "Dad, I'm only 8." Now I don't know that he really had the wherewithal to kind of come up with that. I think God was speaking through him. Like he's only 8. Chill out. Chill. You don't have to drive the point home every time. So anyway, that was choose your battles was that point. But proactive parenting, engage with where they are. Jeff Chacon, great mentor of ours. He had 3 boys, and Jeff would mentor us. We would mentor his kids. I studied with Tyler. She studied with his wife, Tiffany. But anyway, he used to say, you got to get a PhD in every one of your children. We don't have multiple kids, so we got a PhD, and well, he made it. He feels like multiple children. But a PhD in every one of your kids. Because if you know anything about the Chacons, they had 3 boys, but they were all 3 into different things. You know, one of them loved sports, one of them loved science, one of them was a little combination of the 2, but they had to get a PhD in every one of their kids, and they set a great example for that. Fight to release yourself from the end goal is to see your kids get baptized in the youth ministry. Please release that guilt or that pressure on yourselves. All you're trying to do is love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. If you're married, love your spouse, and then just let Jesus love your kids through you. Just be Christians and be free in your Christianity, and don't feel like you're a failure if they don't become a Christian in their teenage years. Nick doesn't want that anyway. Matter of fact, when Cole was 13, he used to say, "Why won't you let me get baptized?" Well, just wait, kid. And then he went through a phase where he was like, "North River stinks. I'm never going to North River again." Okay. I'm not going to church. Okay. And so we didn't force him. Next thing you know, he's like, "I'll see you at church." Okay. See you at church. But you kind of let them go through their journey. But does that mean that I wasn't like connecting with him all throughout that time? Did I withdraw from him? Did I like worry about what you would think if he's like rebelling? No. You stay engaged with your kids. It's a life. You're a parent for life, not just for those years. So release yourself, please. And even if you're like, "Oh, I didn't worry about that," it's in the culture. Nobody's putting it on you. It's in the culture. Don't let it be something that drives you insane. Just love God, love your spouse, and love your kids.
I just want to say that to the men, as a woman, as a wife, there's not much more we can worry about than our own children. And when you are engaged like this, and Matt has done a phenomenal job. I mean, we knew nothing about breakdancing, and our kid started watching Michael Jackson videos at the age of 5, and then went into this breakdancing academy and was competing, and Matt just like got right in there, basketball player, and just like, you know, talking to the coaches and learning everything, but just constantly really connected with Cole's passion, and Cole was passionate about a lot. But it gave me so much security and so much, really just helped my trust that he was a spiritual man and he was praying and getting much, much input. And that gave me a lot of just kind of a lot of peace, I think, as a wife and as a mom. So I just really want to throw that out there. And honey, I'm very grateful for the way that you've done that.
So he relentlessly chases my soul. So when it comes to raising families together, when I look back, like we raised our families together. I just wrote down, this is not all of them, but there's like 16 items, like Paynes, Tchirs, Channers, Palaces, Chapettas, Blooms, Kadinskis, Casties, Moody's, Redmonds, Barlows, Whitens, Cabreras, and like we were in family groups together. We went to Ackworth Beach together. We did vacations together. We did concerts together. We did, obviously, midweeks together. We did Sundays together. We did lunches together. We did play dates together. We did big boy hangouts when they get older together. We did holidays together. We did vacations and game nights, and just like we raised our kids together. And we have Wednesdays and Sundays, and let me tell you, well, actually I'll talk about that in a minute, but there's nothing greater than when your kid's younger and they don't want to leave church. And it's the greatest thing to them. And at that age, it was the greatest thing that he had in his life that he wanted, but we made sure that it was the greatest thing for us. And we were tired. Let me tell you something. We didn't want to go on Wednesday nights many times. And Thursday mornings were an absolute nightmare. Every other day a week was a nightmare. But Thursdays especially, but we kept coming. We kept showing up. Because there's something called compound interest. That over time, there are seeds. I hope there's 15 billion seeds planted in that boy's heart. Because it only takes one to sprout. So every opportunity that we had to have him around other families that were like-minded, we did it. And you talk about a rock star. I want her to brag on. I'm going to brag on her, but she's going to tell you the practical, and then I'm going to brag on her about it. So, proactive in this. Watch.
So yes, we only had one kid, but there's pluses and minuses to that, right? Like we were really the sole entertainment because there are no siblings, and the boy just wanted to go non-stop. And I was laughing at this dad's, saying his son's prayer is thankful, thank you. Our son's prayer was, God, please let me have fun today. And like all through high school, that was his prayer, let me have fun today. So just something practical that we did was we made a plan that every Sunday after church, we took a kid home with us. And it meant oftentimes that I drove that child both ways because this other family might have 3 or 4 children. And they had soccer and they had other activities. So I said, can I take your kid home for an hour or 2 hours? Take them home, feed them lunch, they had an hour to play, and I would drive them back, sometimes across town, sometimes 30 minutes, one way, just to have that connection. And we did this over and over again. Sometimes it was Saturday mornings, okay, Saturday morning, can you come over for 2 hours? But every single week I tried to make a connection for him with a family here from church. And I will say that by the time he got to middle school, that child had 9 best friends. Like you could ask him, who are your best friends? And he would name 9 other kids here at church. And what this meant was that if, 1 or 2 families stopped coming that he was really close to, which did happen, he had 7 other friends or 7 other families with whom he connected. Or maybe a family moved away, that happened too. He still had these other friends. And it's so incredible to see these same boys. They're driving, they're going to college, and they're still, they are each other's best friends. And I think it came with a lot of intentionality and also just a ton of prayer.
So that's raising families together. The C, he relentlessly chases my soul, but the C is children's ministry. Oh my goodness, children's ministry. You talk about Bible and relationships. Children's ministry is teaching Bible and relationships. And when they don't want to leave children's ministry, man, it's, emotions are great visitors, they're horrible residents. So we wanted to get out of there. We're tired. But we stayed. We stayed, let him play, let him do his thing, let him connect. It's compound interest. In the moment, Sometimes it's hard. It's going to be hard. You got to be proactive. You got to persevere. But before that, what's your why? Like, do you want to raise your kids with like-minded families? Do you want them to have best friendships that are a year older, a year younger, and peers? And all I'm saying is if that's your conviction, it was our conviction, we want them to have every opportunity and have relationships, because we still don't know how it's all going to end up at the end of the day, but we didn't want to leave any stone unturned. And when we look back, I'm grateful that that's what we did. Don't rely solely on church events and activities, but don't neglect church events and activities as well. Take advantage of what God is providing, what the church is providing, to keep planting those seeds. I even remember, we took him to weddings. We took him, he was in some of the weddings of people in here. I think Adoye's wedding, Nick's wedding, Kendall's wedding, Jordan, Byron. We took him to baptisms in his pajamas. We just wanted him to be around what was going on. And it was vital for the vast majority of his childhood to have memories of with like-minded families. Yes, it was hard. Mentors matter. We have this thing, mentor the mentors. When your kids get older, you've got to get lots of people that are in the faith to influence them. But if you're not willing to mentor the mentors, don't expect the church just to provide a mentorship program for your kid. Come on, guys. You got to be proactive. You got to make the most of the 86% of the waking hours that you have. The church is icing on the cake. It's supplement. We need this for sure. We need it, but it's up to us to go after mentors. He had Adoye, Nick, Byron, Ryan, Jonathan, Dylan, Gabe, Sherrod, Ralph. Even today, he set up interviews with Tony, Buddy, Bill, Jeff. Two Jeffs, Chad, Michael. These are older fathers that were like uncles to him spiritually. But he called them up to interview them and set up appointments with them because he's into sales. He wants to learn more about what's going on in that whole world. But be willing to mentor the mentors. Be persistent. Don't just sit back and say it's too hard. I don't have anybody. I don't want anybody. I'll tell you right now, if you're the parable of the persistent widow and you keep persistently asking, you're going to find many mentors for your kids. It's just a matter if you want it or not. If you want to make an excuse, then that's fine. You can make an excuse and you'll never have a mentor or whatever. But if you go after it, you're going to find it. Because basically, if we want something and we go after it and it's good and it's right, then you're going to find it. The S, the final one, is swamp. I gotta give a plug for swamp. Because those relationships, they get forged deeper there, and then there's outside churches that also, outside of our sister churches, that send their kids, and they build these relationships over time. And swamp was hard for us to go to. The kitchen wasn't set up for food. We had to, and this is not about us. This is not about us. But it's about a desire to do whatever it takes. And our kid loves the swamp. Today we have a SWAMP acronym: spiritual growth, wealth growth, academic growth, mental well-being, and physical growth. And we use it as an adult. But back then, the counselors, the relationships for the sister churches, those are more relationships. He's got 40, 50, 60, 70 mentors and relationships over time that he may or may not talk to, but they're seeds that are planted. And Swamp is an incredible place. We had to rent Airbnbs. We used to take our vacation time and go to Swamp, and it's not cool to have your parents around at a certain age. So he couldn't sleep there, so he'd sleep in the Airbnb because of his asthma. Then the kitchen wasn't set up for food allergies, so we'd make his own food, and then we'd bring it in coolers, and we'd drop it up at the nurse, we'd drop off his water. He couldn't even have tap water. The kid would break out in eczema, crazy, right? And so we had to have his own water, and then we'd dip out, and then we would come back in lunch, and then we'd figure out how to do different things. But that was from age 9 on, every summer. But guess what he didn't miss? He went to middle school retreats, high school retreats, hats, week-longs, father-sons, whatever it was. Because there was more seeds to be planted. It was a conviction that we had. I'm grateful we had it. How it's going to turn out, we'll figure it out at some point. So, we're not going to read it, but Romans 16. You guys know what Romans 16 is about. I was going to have Chris Haddock read it. Romans 16 was when Paul is writing the final greetings into Rome, and he names 28 to 30 names of people and greet Priscilla and Aquila and tell Antipas hello. And you get this idea of this culture and this community in Romans 16 that Paul over time had developed. And obviously Paul was a man of prayer and gratitude, and he was praying for these people. But that's our role, to build our own Romans 16 community. Like, it's up to you in your household culture. Like, we're going to do, like, at the end of the day, we want a Romans 16 culture. Yes, it's going to be hard, but personal growth, protect the foxes in the vineyard, get them out of there, the marriage, be proactive in your parenting, and raise your families together, right? Mentors matter. Children's ministry was vital. The swamp when they're of age, and all these ligaments of how the Spirit of God can infuse those seeds into our children. That's when we look back. That's what we see. We see, like, man, those are 5 pillars. Like we are responsible for our home culture. We are going to raise our families together. We are going to have a conviction on the children's ministry in the swamp, and then let God do what God does. So I don't know if there's time for Q&A, but when we look back, I hope you can grab something out of there, and it can be helpful. We're available for you guys anytime. I don't know if we have time. We're good. So, all right.